Today on the Angel of Words podcast, I have Karis Leblanc, Burning Man choreographer. They say if you play with fire, you're going to get burned. And she's here to tell us why. On deck on the Angel of Words podcast. And full disclosure, my people, if I offended anyone during this interview, I sincerely apologize. Hello and welcome to the Angel of Words podcast again. Today we have one of the most courageous women I've had the pleasure to meet here in New York City, Miss Karis Leblanc, a choreographer from Burning Man. Welcome, Miss Leblanc. How are you today? Thanks for joining us on the Angel of Words podcast.
Oh, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Excited to have you here because, like I said, you're one of the most courageous women that I've ever met. To be completely honest with you. And we're going to get into all the flame throwing and all the exciting stuff. But first, how the hell do you wake up and decide you want to throw fire? You want to play with fire? You know you're going to get burned, right?
Yeah. I have been burned. You can probably see it in my little hair, little things over here. So I had known nothing about fire performance art up until I was like 26, and I was traveling throughout Southeast Asia, and I was in Thailand, and then more specifically in Bali, and I saw these people spinning with poi. I didn't know it was called poi. It was just long strings with fire attached, two of them, on the beach, and like every time I was like jaw dropped, like, wow, what in the hell is that? And so, you know, during that time, we kept seeing these performers. They would come out of nowhere, they'd light up, they'd use gasoline, and I remember looking at my friend in 2011 and being like, I'm going to learn how to spin fire. And she was like, are you out of your mind? And I was just like, you know what? I live in New York City. There's got to be somebody that knows what this is and like how to learn the tricks of the trade. And then it took me like 3 years. And then I finally found someone who teaches fire and fire performance art and poi and different props. And that's kind of how it started.
There's something seriously wrong with you. You know that? You're in Bali. You're like, oh my God, there's people putting gasoline on themselves and doing cool things. I think I'm going to try that. What were you doing before that? I mean, were you playing with lions at the circus? Like,
I had never, I love to dance. I love like that kind of music scene, but I mean, nothing really in my life had ever led up to that kind of choice where I was just like, I'm going to figure this out. I need a hobby. I'm bored. I'm just doing what I do. And so, yeah, it took me like 3 years to kind of hone in on it. And through a friend who I actually knew, a dancer who had hurt her leg. She was doing knee surgery. And she was like, yeah, you know, I stopped dance classes, but I'm taking poi classes in Brooklyn. And I was like, oh, poi is that thing? And she's like, yeah, I'm going to learn how to do fire.
Poi, P-O-I?
P-O-I.
Okay.
Correct. So I, through her, met a girl named Claire Smith who teaches classes. She's recently left to pursue she's taken a year off to go pursue different dreams. But I started teaching or training with her. I was taking privates for a little while, and she was like, I think you should join my classes. And then it all just kind of like snowballed.
Is it more or less expensive than Soul Cycle?
Way less expensive. Yeah. People actually think when I'm like, I'm a fire spinner, they're like, oh, is that like a spin class? And I'm like, no. Like dance with fire class. And they're like, oh, so not cycling. No, not cycling.
So where did you practice this? Because I would imagine that you have to practice your skills to get to a level where you're actually doing choreography for shows out there.
Yeah. So, when we practice with props that are unlit, and they make really cool LED props for all different fire props, not just poi. They have, palm torches and staffs and all these different things. But so we practiced unlit, and basically it was just like a group class of like 10 people who met once a week and for an hour and 15 minutes, and you learn tricks. And then after like the first 8 classes I had taken with her, she took us to a place which has also since recently closed called the Floasis in Brooklyn, which was the only legal place where you could light up fire and perform with fire. It was like in this person's apartment. They had big outdoor space that was certified through the FDNY, and they had all these permits or whatever. So after like my 8th class, it was the first time that she took us to go light poi on fire and spin it. I have videos from it. I was terrified.
Oh man, I could imagine.
As expected, I'm like covered head to toe. I'm like, let me put on the gloves.
Do you have like special lubricants that you wear before you go out there to perform these?
No, I mean, the thing with fire is that you can light on fire, right? It's I don't want to say it's hard to catch yourself in fire, but you have to be careful of what you wear, products in your hair. A lot of times women especially will just like spray water on their hair to kind of like wet it just in case. But I mean, knock on wood, I've singed eyelashes. I've definitely like had little burns in my arms, but if you just wear natural fibers, you're usually fairly safe when it comes to fire performing. And you always have a safety. There's always somebody with a duvetine, which will help you put out fire there, watching you, making sure like, hey, you caught your left pant leg on fire, just put it out. Yeah.
So what happened to that place that closed down? Did it burn on fire?
I think it was like impervious at that point. No, I think it just kind of fizzled. And now the girl, this wonderful person, Tara McManus, she's actually allowing fire spinning. She partnered with John and Jorge who own the Deep End, which is in Ridgewood. Okay. So the Deep End, it's just on the Ridgewood or the Queens Brooklyn line. And they have a space right now that they're allowed to do fire in. So she's been working with them a little bit to get fire safety classes and have like little tiny burns here and there for people who want to practice. And
what's the biggest scare you ever had?
Like with fire? Yeah. I think when I first started out, I hit myself on the head a couple times and was convinced within that one instant that my whole head was on fire, but I was fine. But really, I think probably the scariest thing is actually at Burning Man in a big group when you just decide to like light on fire and spin your glory and dance or whatever. People coming at me when I'm spinning fire that kind of are like, either A of all don't think it's real or B of all are a little out of their minds and are like, cool, fire. And you're like, no, this is like real fire. Like,
this is not fake. I hope you know this.
Like, please stand back. Like this
they don't call it Burning Man for no reason.
And you don't want to be at Burning Man. Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, no real like big scary. I mean, I think there's always a little bit of a fear when it comes to poi. Maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but that you're just going to let go of one and it's going to like launch somewhere and you're going to be like, where is that burning thing that I just flew out of my hands? But yeah, it's not as scary as I think most people think it is. It's not like the poi or whatever you're burning is going to touch you and you're going to ignite into flames again. If you're wearing cotton, it's just going to kind of fizzle out because it's not, the wick isn't actually burning. It's the gas the fuel that you have on the wick. So it's with all of that science behind it, it's not that scary.
So how did you end up at Burning Man? Because, I'll be honest with you. I think Burning Man, I think Game of Thrones. I mean, I love Game of Thrones, one of my favorite shows of all times. But I'm like, I'm going to get attacked by wildlings. I might end up in a cult. Like, there's a, I'm sorry, man. Us ethnic people are kind of scared of Burning Man, I think, as a whole. I'm going to go out on a limb and say a lot of us haven't heard of it. And if I'm wrong, I'm sorry, public. Please excuse me. But it scared me when she was first telling me. I'm like, this sounds insane. But how did you end up getting an opportunity to go and perform at Burning Man?
It's probably the coolest part about my whole experience with Burning. So in 2011, when I saw a fire performance for the first time, we also happened to meet a bunch of other backpackers, and a lot of them had been to Burning Man and they were talking it up, and I had heard about it years before, but never really met anyone that had actually gone to Burning Man. And so again, in 2011, I was sitting there on the beach and I looked at my friend Casey and I was like, so not only am I going to learn how to spin fire, the first time I go to Burning Man, I'm going to spin fire at Burning Man. And again, she was like, you are absolutely out of your mind. I don't even know, like, where do you even start? And I kind of just left it at that in 2011. And so I started taking poi about 3 years later, 2014, 2015. And, just this one girl, her name is Lana. She's great. Hi, Lana. Her and I were like kind of ships passing through classes. Like she would come out of a class, I would go into a class, and she always was like, and at one point she turned to me and she's like, you should join my fire performance group. And I was like, oh, I don't know. Like I'm a newbie, I have no idea. And she was like, no, we perform at Burning Man. And I was like, oh, again, I just started doing this. I'm like very much
I'm like, trying to ease my way
I'm
into
like
this.
junior varsity. You guys are like major league, whatever.
Yeah.
And so she was like, no, just come. So that, I think it was like that March, joined Empire Fire Collective, which is a local New York City based fire collective group that spins fire at Burning Man. They perform there. And we got in that year. So what happens is that, you practice, you choreographic performance for when they burn the man at Burning Man in this group. I think there was probably 18 of us at that point. It was like different sections, whole performance piece, and then you audition to the fire council at Burning Man. And so that year in 2017, our group got in. And I remember having that moment. I actually sobbed on the subway when I got that email because it was 2011 to 2017, Karis says this ridiculous life goal, just kind of throws it out into the universe. And I was
kind
like,
of outlandish, I'll be honest. If I was your friend, I'd be like, you're bugging.
You're
you know
out
that,
of your
right?
mind. So
That's not going to happen.
So my first time going to Burning Man, I performed fire during the before the man burn in the Great Circle, and it was like this total life path accumulation where I was like, "Holy crap, I did it!" Like I actually don't even know the day to day of how I got there, but I got there, and it was.
But I'll be honest, that's from doing a little research on Burning. That's the essence of Burning Man, right?
Yeah.
Is it not like the self-realization, self-actualization? Letting go of your inhibitions, being your true self.
Exactly. Exactly. So it was like that culmination of all of that. And I literally sobbed on the subway, like happy. People were like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "No, I'm so excited. You have no idea what's happening. I'm going to Burning Man. I'm spitting fire." So that was, it was amazing. And that's how I got there my first time. And also, that kind of introduced me into the world and the event that is Burning Man. So.
And it's huge. It's huge. How many people are usually out there?
Like, I think there was around 80,000 last year, and I think they're trying to build it to get to 100,000.
Yeah.
So,
and it's like a commune, right? Like people come and not like that, but people, they like literally build a city in like nowhere in Nevada, and they camp out there for it's like a week or so.
A week long.
It's a week long, and you got to like bring your own water. Like, you got to like fend for yourself. It's kind of like The Walking Dead. You know what I mean? But everybody's alive.
Yes, exactly. Mad Max.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what it is. Very good point.
It's not gasoline, it's water. But yeah, I mean, it's a self-made city that there's a couple months prior where they start to set up the burningman.org sets up the space in the event. But the first year I went, I got there for early entry. So I was there during Build Week, which is like this 2 weeks prior leading up to the event. So I was fortunate enough to get in with a friend of mine who was like, "Do you want to come help us build?" And I was like, again, I have no idea what that means, but that sounds great. Like, let's go. So I got to see, like 4 days prior to the event when the gates open, I got to see this building of this space. When we got there, it was like the middle of the desert. My friend's trying to explain to me like the streets. And I was like, I have absolutely no idea what this is going to look like. And he was like, "Wait until Sunday night." And he's like, "You'll see that this city literally builds itself in days and then it's gone. It's crazy. It's amazing."
And you got in there for free?
No,
because those tickets are like $1,400. I was hearing there's no one-day passes like Izu. Like
there's no one-day pass. So they do.
It's a commitment.
There's like tiered tickets. So the first they have direct group sales, which actually just happened this week, which is the camps that go to Burning Man that are their own camps get the first bids for sales, and those tickets are around $400. I think they're a little more expensive this year. And then there's what's called I think the FOMO sale, which are those are the $1,400 tickets. So those tickets, if you buy them for $1,400, what burningman.org does is it sells a certain amount of tickets for a very high price, and that allows for them to give performers and low-income tickets to people who can't afford $400 or $1,400. So it's like a tiered ticket sale. So the main sale happens, which is where all the $450 tickets go on sale, and then there's performer tickets, which are around $200, and then there's low-income, which are the same thing. So they basically, the people that pay the $1,400 are helping people that can't afford that come to Burning Man, which is kind of cool. It's a different way of doing
that's fantastic, man. Because I saw that, I'm like, whoa, man, this sounds like a great experience. But $1,400 living in New York City with these rents, I don't know if I could afford to do that. I might stay out there and live after that.
That's the weird thing. There's a point at Burning Man where you're like, maybe I'll just stay. But so it's cool. So the first time that the first and then last year I got a performer's ticket, which is around $200 and change.
Now, when did you start doing your own choreography for the show?
So that was just this past year. So the first 2 years in my Fire Conclave, I was in groups that other people were choreographing for. Yeah. And then last year for 2019 Burning Man, we had our auditions for our conclave, and the head, this wonderful guy, Frank, was like, "I want you to choreograph the poi and hoop group." And I was like, oh my God, like another life goal that I never thought I even wanted to do or had any interest. I actually never thought I could. And then so I choreographed a piece that was poi and hoop all on fire. And then I helped choreograph what's called palm torches. So these little like cool candle things that you hold in your hand. And I helped another girl choreograph those two pieces. And then all of our pieces together, I think we had the performance itself was around 16 minutes. We again auditioned and we got accepted. So that was really exciting. So last year I got to go and not only perform, but also be like, this is my piece. Like, oh my gosh.
That must have been exhilarating.
Yeah, it was really cool. The experience of spinning fire at Burning Man as a performer, So it happens, the man burns on the Saturday before the end of Burning Man. So the man is this giant structure that they build and they set it on fire. There's a thing called the Great Circle. So you can't really get close to the man burn. Obviously, as someone that's just in the crowd, they have like fire safety people and you have to be a couple 100 yards back. But when you perform before the man burns, there's your group and about 30 other groups from around the world that perform their whatever they choreographed, and usually their pieces are anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes. So that happens, and then there's what they call chaos. So you do your performance, you put out your props, and then everyone can light up again and do whatever they want. And it's actually what I just read, and I think it was last year I read it. I'm not sure if it's true, so don't really quote me, facts, but I guess it's the largest fire performance circle to happen in the world is what happens before they burn the man. So that's pretty cool to be a part of as a performer. You're like, wow, this is like the big leagues.
Now, is it something is there like a schedule of performances? Do you get a playbill or something? Like or it's just like willy-nilly, like, hey, it's your time to burn fire. You're up next.
So what happens is everybody, when the man burns, the entire event basically gravitates toward the man. And so there's about 70,000 people, 80,000 people that sit down and they're waiting for this last event. They burn the man. So our performance groups are in the Great Circle. We get placed around the circle, but other than that, there is a map that they say if you have friends that you're like, all right, I'm going to be here on the circle if you want to see our group perform. Otherwise, you just pick a spot in this huge area, you see whatever performance, and then everyone sits down and then they light the man on fire. So it is a little willy-nilly. You really have to and Burning Man, you lose all sense of time and direction. And
like you're not calling your friends like, I'm going to be on at 5, you better get there.
Yeah, you literally leave camp.
You're telling me your friends couldn't even make it the last time, right?
Yeah, the first time I went on, no one saw me perform, which was kind of a very humbling but sweet experience because I was so excited and I was like, this is my goal. And then like no one that I knew saw me. They couldn't find me. It was a big chaos. They couldn't get in. It was just a nightmare. But, I did it for myself. And I think that's what's the most important.
Well, I mean, that's the essence of Burning Man. And by the man, you mean that's what they call the statue, right? The man is the name of the statue.
That is the man. Yep. He gets bigger and smaller. I think the biggest one was like a couple of years ago. But yeah, it's this giant effigy basically. And they it's the largest fire I've ever seen in my life to the point where it's like terrifying to be that close. Yeah. Like there was this past year, we happened to be sitting downwind of this giant fire when the man burned. And I remember looking at somebody and I was like, I'm fairly certain that we're sitting downwind of this flames because I can feel the winds. And then like 20 minutes later, there was like fire tornadoes and we're getting like rained on with like giant and I was like, oh my God, this is how it goes. This is how I light myself on fire, is sitting watching something burning. So.
Did you used to play golf or hunt or something? Because you're like down there, like you could tell. That means they used to do something. I literally could
feel the wind and I was like, this is not right. Something's wrong here. And then I remember Frank was like, no, we'll be fine. I was like, I don't think we're going to be fine. Pretty
sure fine would be the adjective I use.
There's going to be explosions and the wind is coming our way. Like we might not be fine.
Yeah.
So I actually have videos of like giant pieces of like huge pieces, just like, and people like screaming and it was chaos, but it was fun. Exhilarating, let's say. Maybe not fun, but exhilarating.
Different, very special.
Very different experience.
Now, what's the crowd like over there? It's like, is it like an eccentric crowd? Like, can you wear whatever you want? Is there a particular way to dress for Burning Man?
No particular way. The whole idea is radical self-expression, right? So, and that takes place in many forms. It takes place as, the person that's walking around in cargo shorts, or, girls walking around naked, men walking around naked. It's really anything and everything. However you feel you want to express yourself, whatever that looks like, that's pretty much. And you have to dress appropriately for, I think, the temperatures. It gets really cold at night. It's very hot during the day. So there's a little bit of that.
Yeah, because they do it in August and September, right?
Yeah. So
I would imagine it's pretty hot in Nevada around that time.
Yeah. So people they go crazy with costumes, and you watch people like walk, through the desert, and you're like, what are they even wearing? That is insane. People go out in groups. There's art cars. There's, people decorate their bicycles to the 10th, and it's really like free radical self-expression. It's
I'll be honest, I don't tend to get naked in public, but that sounds like a situation. Fire and heat from the sun. Yeah, I think I might be naked.
It's actually quite liberating. You're just like, I'm going to go. And then you're like, ooh, that's not so bad.
I might be free, not because I want to, just to save myself.
Yeah. I always wonder how guys ride bikes naked. I'm like, that doesn't look comfortable.
They do that over there?
Oh, yeah. They have like naked bike rides. And I mean, that's the thing. It's like Burning Man is whoever you choose to be, whoever you want to be in that moment. That's what you're allowed in. And the crazy thing is, I guess it's not crazy for Burning Man, but for the real world, people are really accepting. And it's like people can walk around naked. It's not like groups of people are like, oh my God, like whispering. It's just like, it's just completely accepted. There's no, background noise or clatter about it. It's just like the norm, I guess, which is kind of fun.
I'm gonna be honest. I think that Burning Man is gonna get so large it might become more popular than social media, because you have all these people on social media that like they're like self-help gurus and better self, and all these people like venting their frustrations out on social media. I feel like Burning Man is the perfect place for you to go. To be completely honest with you, because you want to feel liberated, you want to feel free. It seems like that's the kind of place that caters to anyone that's going through, some kind of crisis in their life where they need to express themselves in a radical fashion.
In a radical way, yeah. I think
still healthy, because you're not killing each other out there. You're just expressing yourself in radical, artistic ways. Correct?
Exactly. I mean, it's a good platform, I think. It's hit social media. A lot of what you see about Burning Man in social media is almost like glamorized, where, I have people being like, well, what do you dress up as? I'm like, I don't really, it's like certain days I just want to wear a t-shirt and shorts. And, so there's, like I said, there's so many different facets of that society and that community. And you can also be very lonely at Burning Man. I mean, you don't really have cell phone service. So if you get lost and you can't find your friends, what are you going to do? You're in the middle of a desert. You could, but that's the thing. The beauty about Burning Man is even if you're at your most lost, or I feel like you're most loneliest, you'll turn around and you'll see something that inspires you, or you'll see somebody that'll be like, sit down with us. Look, let's go over here. And you'll find a group within instance if you open yourself to it. Otherwise, it could probably be a really lonely experience.
I like that, though. I like getting lost. I remember one time I got lost at a concert. I went to a great concert with this person that I didn't really have too much fun with there. And I lost them on purpose, and I found them. I'm like, yo, I would love Burning Man, yo. Seriously.
It's important to get lost. Like when I brought, so my second year, I brought 11 virgins, which they call when you've never been to Burning Man. It was only my second year.
Well, you brought 11 virgins?
No, never before been to Burning Man. It was a big deal. They were all just like, and my whole thing was, as much as I love them, they had like a schedule on their RV of like where they're going to be at like certain times. And in case you get lost, like find us here. And I kept, oh God, I can't believe I'm going to say this. I kept erasing it every day. I would wake up and just erase their whiteboard because I was like, you guys, the point of this is to get lost. Yes. And like, so what if you miss the set or the thing? It's like, find something. You can find anything at any point at any time at Burning Man. Get completely lost in your own world, doing something totally different than what you set out to do that day. And that's the whole point. Go experience it. So yes, have a schedule, maybe stick to it, but also like, fuck your burn, fuck your schedule.
Well, yeah, it's like, that's the one thing I hate about technology is like everything has to be so organized. I didn't grow up like that.
Some people are like that though. Some people that gives them a sense of structure and it's not so worrisome. But for me, it was like, getting lost is half the point,
Yeah, don't go to a place of radical self-expression if you're freaking your whole life you're organizing your day and you're gonna go to Burning Man and organize your day. That's not radical. Radical is not organizing. How about you try that? How about you meet new people?
Yeah, I mean that's the point. That's my burn, right? That was their burn. They could do whatever they want, but I was just trying to encourage them to be like, it's okay if you miss somebody's DJ set somewhere or the orchestra that was playing somewhere else. Like, who knows, So they ended up having a great time, and now they're like 100% dedicated to the whole experience in the event. They're like lifelong burners, like are going this year, they're going to go next year.
I like that lingo, burn. Is that like that's your prerogative? Like, what does that mean?
That's your burn. It's like your experience, what you make of it.
I love that.
There's like a big snarky, like, fuck your burn, or like the burn was better last year, which is always the same. So.
Yeah, because you wasn't here. Because I was here last year. I'm not here this year. Of course, it's better.
Totally.
Man, now is there any truth to the rumor? Because I've heard this kind of nonsense a lot. I don't want to know if you've actually experienced it. There's orgies going on at Burning Man as well. What's up with that? I heard there's a freak show too over there. Like, I understand people are naked, but are they like embarking upon different experiences you don't see?
Absolutely. Like, there's 100% that aspect in there.
Love it. It's like the gay parade here in New York,
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, again, like when it comes to like all of the principles of Burning Man, there is no like really structure to any of it. So yes, there are, there's theme camps for everything and almost anything that you can possibly imagine. You could go to a camp and learn how to bake cookies. You could go to a Russian banyan. You could go to, there's the Orgy Dome. You could go to like a gay themed camp or a, I don't even know, like a hard rock camp. We saw a bluegrass camp one night that was there's definitely that. I think that comes with radical self-expression and like committing to an experience. Some people that's part of what they do with Burning Man, and maybe they take it into the real world. Perhaps they don't. Perhaps that's their 1 week to completely release themselves, like free themselves sexually and express themselves that way to whatever that ends up looking like. I personally have never been into those domes.
Yeah,
but
no. But I mean, you know, at the end of the day, like, you know, that's radical self-expression. That's just the essence of Burning Man, you know. It may be something that you feel comfortable doing out there because it's always been a fantasy of yours. And there's nothing wrong with that, I'll be completely honest with you. You know, I love the fact that Burning Man is no taboo. You know, and it's in a very tasteful, you know, excuse me, like in a way that's, you know, liberating.
Exactly.
And I think we need that as human beings, man. You know, I feel like we get so caught up in this rat race that sometimes you need to go out there and express yourself in a way that's healthy. You know, it's, you know, because it's a controlled atmosphere. It's not like people running around going crazy like chickens with their heads cuts off. There's things to do. You interact. You know, it seems like you interact with different people. You meet people from different backgrounds.
Absolutely. You know, it's funny. It's, you look at people. You meet so many people from so many different walks of life, and then, you know, there's people that work, you know, 9 to 5 jobs. They sit in an office all day, or they're like in these major corporations, and their whole life is about the structure of the corporate world and what they wear. And, you know, sometimes you got to let loose, and that might be the fact that they go to Burning Man. I know people, you know, aren't really allowed to say to their employers where they're going for that week. They have to kind of like tiptoe around it to get the time off, because it's frowned upon to, you know, either their employer or that corporation that they're working for. So, yeah, I mean, it's just, and then so people like that might get there and they might be the ones that are walking around naked the whole time, because they're like, you know what, I'm so sick of this suit and tie. Like,
no, I mean, yeah, I'll be completely honest with you, though. A lot of people feel that way, man.
Yeah,
a lot of people feel that way, you know, and that's not, you know, and I'm glad that there's a place that people could, you know, go there and just do what they got to do, man. You know what I'm saying? Enjoy beautiful art, enjoy beautiful music. There's kids there too. I mean, I'm sure it's, you know, not that crazy. There's kids walking
there's
around.
Little kids everywhere. There's a whole Kidsville camp that caters to little kids, and some of their projects are. I was talking to somebody last year, this guy who had volunteered at the kids camp, and he was like, you know, it's the most amazing thing. You know, there was like 20 kids in this like play group, and all the kids had to bring something that they really loved and that they were willing to get rid of, and then they made an art piece from all of these toys that they had that these kids loved. It was one of their favorite toys, but, you know, are you willing to get rid of that? And then what does that look like to then make it into an art piece and have it for the enjoyment of other people? And that was kind of their lesson and experience that day, which when you think about it is such a beautiful thing to do. It's like, when does someone teach you the value of something that's, you know, you have this toy as a little kid, and the value of also sharing with other people and letting go of the fact that this isn't just yours, maybe everybody's in the world to enjoy and experience.
And that's a big theme actually for Burning Man, sharing as well. There's like principles over there from what I was reading. It's like 10 principles of Burning Man, and one of them is sharing, which I feel like people don't do enough.
Oh, yes. So the whole thing Burning Man is decommodification, and there's a gifting community. So basically there's no money exchange for anything. So when you get there, you've paid for your ticket, you bring all that you need to survive, and then everything else is either gifted, really. So a lot of people get caught up in that. I remember one year with all the virgins that I brought, they were like, one guy was like, well, what do you mean? Like, you just gift it? Like, is it like a trade? And I'm like, no, that's not gifting. Gifting is like, you know, one year I made mac and cheese, like 14 pounds of mac and cheese, and just walked around with it. And it was like, just take it. Everyone's hungry, just eat. People gift trinkets or toys or necklaces. And, you know, the only thing you can actually buy at Burning Man is ice, because you kind of need ice out there to survive. So it's the only thing you can actually buy. And I think coffee at center camp. But yeah, everything's just gifting. And what that creates, I think, is a really beautiful community, and this idea of, you know, just have it. Like I met people who literally took the shirt off their back, and they were like, just take this. And I was like, what? I'll give you. And they're like, no, I just want you to have it. Let it go. So, I mean, you could do that with food. You could do it with, you know, services or experiences, or, yeah, I mean, the whole, like, there's spas out there. They'll give facial treatments, and it's all, you know, gifting.
That vibe seems so different because, like, you know, I grew up in New York, and you're so untrustworthy, you know, untrusting of
what do you
everything.
Want from me?
Honestly. Like,
totally.
How much off the
way
favors?
different.
You giving me this for free now? You're lying.
Yeah, what do you want?
You know, it's like New York is different, man. It kind of like, you become kind of jaded, and you don't realize that there's actually people out there that, yo, man, they just want to enjoy your company. They want to hear your story for a couple of hours, you know, entertain them, and then you move on as if nothing ever happened.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, I think the bars, the first night I got there, my second year, all of the virgins, I was like, they were kind of like, well, what are we supposed? It was nighttime, and they're like, what are we gonna do? And I was like, let's go to a bar and get a drink. And they were like, wait, what? Do I need my wall? And I'm like, no. You just get a drink. There's bars there's literally camps that just have full bars, whatever they just choose to distribute during the week. And it was like that little flip in their head where we got to the bar, and they were like, oh, you just go up and then you just get a drink and then you just walk away. And I was like, let's start our night like this.
You ain't gonna have to worry about not tipping the waiter. You're good, man.
That's it. They're here for
we literally built a free city. I mean, you pay $1,400 to get. The least you can get is a drink. Right?
But that's their camp,
That's dope,
you find your favorite. There's martini, So that was a funny little flip, I think, for everyone that day, was they were like, oh, and you're like, I mean, tomorrow if you want to go get falafel, there's a falafel camp too. We're hungry,
oh my God, so free falafel too. Oh my God,
gifted falafel.
This sounds like heaven. Is it like heaven for a week, and us East Coast people don't even know about it? What's going on, man?
You gotta come. It is. It's one of the most incredible human experiences. The first year I went, I was like, wow, this is like a human experiment / experience in complete freedom. I mean, on so many different levels. You come. My first year, I was there for almost 12 days in the desert, so I kind of went through this ebb and flow of being like, this is amazing. I hate this. I never want to come back again. So this is amazing. And then by day 7 or 8, I was actually in a state of, I never want to go back to the default world. I don't want to, this is what life should be about. This kind of experience, this kind of camaraderie and community and gifting and expression, and everywhere you turn, someone's there to give you a hug or walk with you if you need. It's just amazing.
Oh my! So will you be back this year in August?
I will. We're looking into going back. At first I'm not going to do the Fire Conclave this year. Because I kind of want to experience giving back in a different way. So that was part of it. But I think we're going back. We might have had a wedding that weekend, and now it just changed. So we're just kind of figuring that out right now. But I'll definitely be back.
Now, will you be posting on your social media?
I can't. I don't. I actually don't use my phone at Burning Man. There's Wi-Fi.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You can't even bring, there's no way, you're not supposed to, you can't use it, right? There's no service.
I've heard there's Wi-Fi now.
Yeah.
I have no idea what that means. I've always been the one that just, I'll take my phone with me to take pictures, but then I completely forget that I have a phone on me because you see the art in the desert, it's beautiful. You're like, I should show this to my parents. So I have something to show them, being I just spent 8 days in the desert. I have nothing to show for it other than my energy is woo. Yeah. But I mean, no, I don't really post. I mean, people do.
Now,
I don't know.
Do you do fire shows for people privately? Not private, but if somebody hires you
in New York City?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
So how do they find you if they want to hire you?
I just started my new Instagram. It's KLuminous1.
All right, there you go, KLuminous1.
So, I'm trying to create a little bit more content. It's been a little rough because of the rain and the cold, and then so I'm trying to get content to get onto my Instagram account and just I mean, fire performance is hard to do in New York City. LED performance is a lot easier, but it is a really cool add-in if you have a Hamptons party or a party in Connecticut. And I'm a fire safety performer, so I do have insurance for that. So everything else is good to go.
So what would you like to tell people that have just listened to you and your beautiful stories about Burning Man? Thank you. Actually,
thank you. Thank you.
What's your message to people about Burning Man and things moving forward for you?
I guess the message about Burning Man is, I think if you're curious about it or if you have any interest in it, I think you should participate and go out there and find it. It can be a scary endeavor, but it's hard for you to walk away saying that was the worst thing I've ever done. You'll find something out there that'll give you more life. And other than that, just keep participating. It's just a really great event, and the fire performance is amazing. If you have any questions about where to take fire classes, or if you have any idea we want to spin fire props, you can always contact me at K_Luminous1. And I'm happy to point you guys in the right direction if you have any questions about that, because it's a really fun way to dance and learn a new hobby. So,
Well, Ms. LeBlanc, thank you for being here, blessing us with the knowledge of Burning Man. All my people out there, it was a lighthearted conversation. You know what I mean? We love Burning Man. We love liberalism and expressing yourself, because, if you can't express yourself, what can you do? Angel of Words, we're out.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed my interview today with Miss Karis Leblanc. And please, go check out Burning Man whenever you have the chance. There's tickets for everyone, and there's a plethora of different ways to go and get them. So if you go, let us know how it went. Post at the #Angel of Words podcast. And thank you for tuning in.